we possibly conclude the notes for the Dadistani Dinik in this program. Chapter 87, verse 2, I deem the introduction of it more expressly better, the gift, and the new thing, which is upon the principles of the religion. Well, that wouldn't be a sinful innovation. That would be something good. Chapter 88, verse 1. Before each celebration of all the religious rites with holy water, seeing chapter 66, verse 17, which they have provided in the land of Pars, reading boon as in M14 instead of Barmano, son, in K35, of 350 dirhams at least, about 140 or 122.5 rupees, as in chapter 66, the actual value of these sums of money depended on the price of the necessaries of life in the 9th century of the Common Era. Verse 2, less than 400 or than 350 dirhams, we do not accept. K35 repeats the negative, but whether this is a blunder or intended to intensify the negation is uncertain. Verse 6, in which they shall use 4 pure animals, sheep or goats, and when it is undertaken as regards a distant district, that is, it is a fair average charge. Verse 7, the Artakshatar Gadman, the Huzmaris form of Ardashir Khura, the name given by Ardashir, the son of Papak, the first Sasanian king, to the city and district of Gor, subsequently called Piruzabad, Sinobex, Getchich, der Perser, and Araber, Zerzeit, der Sasanaded, about page 11 and 19. It's about 70 miles from the south of Shiraz. And we see here the same sort of problem that's more thought of in the Islamic world. I mean, it's more commonly known about that they're trying to justify generation after generation after generation rather than just, okay, is the prophet and the teachings of the prophet sound? Okay. But certain generations were better than others. That's clear enough. They who would accept less than 300 dirhams, about 105 rupees. Verse 8, the glorified Atur Frobog, by the name of an early editor of the Deen card whose selections from various religious writings form the 4th and 5th books of that extensive work in its present form. He lived after the Islamic conquest of Persia, probably in the 8th century of the Common Era. Verse 9, or even for 120 dirhams. That is 52.5 or 42 rupees. Ordered of those who solemnize all the religious rites twice. That is also stated in chapter 66, verse 32. owing to the reasons written in another chapter of ours. See chapter 66, verse 24 and 26. As is written in the same writing, in verse 12, Kadug gun namako, chapter 66, verse 24 to 26 as well. Verse 13, as was shown by my metaphor in the other chapter. See chapter 66, 28 and 29. Verse 14 are the recitation. It is uncertain whether these are the correct technical meanings of kesh and door. And chapter 89, in the summertime, assuming that Haman stands for Hamino, he is like the great who sends in excess of that unto the high priests. And 14 omits the phrase. Now, one of the things about not giving your worst or the least that you think may be sufficient is that you're always going to be sufficient. And sometimes that would carry over the excess to where you're not sufficient. And that phrase is omitted. Or after that benefit, sin or not. Verse 3, and the well-housed man that is not able to work himself. And 14 adds, and he longs for a good living and a good consideration. Important and virtuous is he when he's able to do it. The sentence is hardly grammatical. And chapter 90 are their sacred fires and appointed worship. Literally, the fires of Barohran. See chapter 31, verse 7. Verse 3, Kavaniras, the central one of the 7 regions of the earth, which is supposed to contain all the countries best known to the Iranians, and to be as large as the other 6 regions put together. See Bundahis 11, 2-6. The name is here corrupted into Kavana Iras, son of Furgan, the Avestan, Yo Isto, Yo Furyananam of Abanyast, verse 81, Fravardinyast, 120, who had explained 99 enigmas propounded to him by the evil Aktya. Isn't that one of Michael Ford's magical names? In Pazan. His name is corrupted into the Gosti Furiano, whose explanation of 33 enigmas, propounded by Akt the wizard, and proposal of 3 enigmas, in his turn formed the subject of a Pahlavi tale published with the Art of Iraq. He is not to include among the immortals mentioned in Bundahis 29, 5, and 6, Dinkard, see verse 8, but is one of those specified in the Bahmaniast 2:1. The Avesta name of one is Yakma Yusad. No doubt the Avestan Eshem Yahma Usta, righteousness, for which be blessed, which precedes Yoisto. In Frabardinyast 120, he is the Asami Yamahust of Bundahis 29:5, who is said to reside in the district of the river Naivtak, but he is not mentioned in the Dean card. The names Yakma Yusad, Fev Aksto, and Asha Vazang are written in Pazand, which accounts for their irregular spelling. son of the Kumbiks, the Avestan, Fravakste, Kunbia, Fradhakste, of Fravardinjast, 138. In the Dean card, he is said to be the ruler on the not Yuvtak waters, but in the Bundahis, he is called Parsudga Hevembia, residing in the plain of Pestyansai. Son of Puru Dakstoi, the Avesan Asha Vazdang, the Po Uru Dakstian of Abanyast, 972, Fravardinjast, 112. He is the Ashavazd son of Pouru Dakst in the Bundahis, and he is said to rule in the plain of Pesyansai in the Dean card. One is the tree opposed to harm, the many-seeded tree said to grow in the wide-formed ocean and also in Ironbeg, on which the Sa'ena bird, Simurg, is supposed to sit and shake off the seeds, which are then conveyed by the bird Kamros to the waters gathered by Tistar, who rains them down on the earth with the water, hence the growth of the fresh vegetation when the rainy season commences. See the Rashnu, Yast, 17, Bundahis, 36.2, 29.5, Muck. They really should. In the future, anybody, don't over abbreviate things, especially leaving pages for things people memorize to even figure out your abbreviations. That's messed up. 62, 37, 72. One is Gopatsha, either a title or a son of Agrerod, brother of Frasyav of Tur. See the Bundahis, 29.5, 31.20 to 22. He is a righteous Minotaur, according to Muk, 62, verses 31 to 36. And one is Peshyotanu, here written Patsha Yotanu, but he is the Peshyotanu of chapter 37, verse 36, who was called after the Kitra Voko Miyano, the Katru Miyan River in Kangdes, see Bundahis 2031, and verse 4, the reign of Gopatsha is over the land of Gopato, which is the non-Aryan country according to the Dean card, but the Bundahis 29.5 calls it the land of the Sa-Uka Vastan and Muk, 44, 24 to 35, 62, 31 places Gopatsha in Ironbeg. The Katru Miyan River in Kangdes, Bundahis 2031, is the Kitra Voko Miyano. Okay. Continuing verse 4, Conterminius with Ironbeg. See chapter 21.2. On the bank of the water of the Daiti, the Avestan Daitya, a river which flows out of Ironbeg. See the Bundahis 20:13. And it keeps watch over the ox Havayas. See chapter 3799. Through whom occurs the complete perfection of primitive man, referring either to the complete peopling of the earth by emigration on the back of this ox in ancient times, or to the immortality produced at the resurrection by tasting an elixir of which the fat of this ox is one of the ingredients. The reign of Peshiotanu is in Kangdes, a settlement east of Persia, formed or fortified by Siavash, see Bundahis 2910, Bahmanyast 325, the noble Siavash, see chapter 3736. He who is called the erratic youth are Kangi Raftar, may mean jaunty youth, but is evidently an attempt to account for the name Kangdes as the fortress of the Kang youth. Verse 6, and through his powerful spirit arose increase of cultivation, and the ruler Kai Khusroi, the son of Siavash, see chapter 36.3, Bundahis 31.25, the purity of the sacred fire, literally the fire of Varahran. Verse 7 is the great advancement of religion and good works, and other quarters likewise. He is expected to be summoned by the angels to restore the religious rights to the world after the conflict of the nations in the future age. See Bahmanyas 3:25-42. This also is, even owing to my not remembering, in the detailed account of the contents of the Sudkar or Studgarnask given in the 9th book of the Deen card, the latter part of its 15th Fargard is said to have been on the 7 immortal rulers who have produced in the region of Kvaniras, and also about the determination of their glory and the goodness too of their assistance and the living sovereignty in both worlds, the tree opposed to harm on Atirandeg in the place of most excavations, Fre Neganan Gokpato is in the non-Aryan countries. Pachotanu, son of Vistasp, is in Kangdes, of the 100-ribbed shape, Sad Dandako Terpi, in which is a myriad of the exalted, who were black, marten fur, loon, siya, samur, yaksinun, are righteous listeners out of the retinue of Peshotanu, son of Vistasp, Prodaksto, son of the mortal Kumbiks, who was a sovereign on the water of Naivtak, Ashavazd, son of Prodaksto, who is sovereign over the most manifest among uplands, the plain of Tessanas, Barazd, because there is strife, and of the father-in-law's race, Kost to Magog, of the famous Vistasp. He was called Kai Khusroi, who produces even an advance of thy religion of the monster worshippers, and also understands about it, and who gives my good practices further blessings, so that the world maintains my doings with benedictions. Perfect is the excellence of righteousness. In this list of immortal rulers of ancient times, the names of Barazd and Kai Khusroi are substituted for those of Yosto and Yakma Yusad in our text. Barazd is the Iba Iraz of Bundahis 29:6, and possibly the Verasjarste of Fravardin Jast, 101. And chapter 91, verse 2, of all the stones the hardest and the most beautiful, the same notion as that indicated in Genesis by the word firmament. And people would mythologize what they thought science was. But would religion itself include these inaccuracies? No. The symbolic references and stuff used by former groups and stuff, that can be useful, though. And the grandeur of its spirit and even its internal bow, the rainbow. Verse 3, where promise-breaking words exist. Probably the meaning that the sky extends downward below the horizon as far as the second grade of hell, that for the evil words, dus hukt, sishayast, 6:3, is without any need of preparing. The word divak, place, sivak, in the Sasanian inscription of Nakse Rustam, but traditionally pronounced Dinak, seems to be here taken in the etymological sense of sivak, that is, a living place. The text refers to the period in the beginning when the sky was indefinite space, unprepared for the residence of creatures, and merely a region of light. See Bundahis 1:2. The light mentioned in verse 4 is its preparation is referred to in verses 8 and 9. That causing motion and that of movables. And 14 has movables and immovables instead of this clause. As mobility is mentioned about thought and immobility about material things. Perhaps we should read the spirits by inserting an additional medial stroke in the Pahlavi word. Verse 6, prepared with a source of activity. Reading tukshini kiha instead of the unintelligible tukti kiha. The author has so nearly lost sight of his argument in the mazes of his verbiage that there are some uncertainties about the translation of this paragraph. Well, perhaps it was the level of eloquence that is just not understood as the language. It's not so much a living language anymore, or wasn't. But people who write their scripture with their own hands, there's going to be issues, like with the Bible. That's how we know that's part of how we know the Bible isn't the Word of God, other than the is it 1st or 2nd Timothy 3:16? Gives you a list of disqualifiers as far as the Bible is concerned. And it is dominant over 1,000 cascades, Pashan, and 1,000 lakes. That is, the guardians of a place exposed to all attacks the sky is supposed to be, unless it is a stronghold in itself, must always be on the alert. Well, the sky has force that holds it in place and all this other stuff, but it's not pillars that we can see. And in verse 5, the water of Rekvisur is on Alburz, the rainbow, even unto Hukir the lofty, that is a living place. All gorgeous and brilliant, thence its flowing is affected. Reading Dido, seen, but it may be stow for stee material. And Mount Ushindum, the Avestin Us and Von up to the Hindva of Tistorias 32, a mountain summit where the clouds gather. It is the Usindo mountain of Bundahist 12.6, 13.5. It is said to be of ruby material of the sky. Bundahist 13.4. The lake is said to be on the summit of Hugar. And before that, its flowing is affected. I must skip some. M14 and J have Nikuni Aito precipitated instead of Kuni Ait. And Uxir the Lofty, the Avestin, Huka Iria, the Rezo, the Hugar, which I relate to